Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pats Nation Network here. I'm your host, Matt St. Jean. Things might look a little bit different. No, Pat Lane. Don't worry, he's not gone. He'll be back later this week. He was in New Orleans for this one, enjoying his time in the bayou, hopefully, eating many beignets, having many a tasty beverage down there. So it's just going to be me tonight on the post-game show. Probably going to get you out of here a little bit quicker than normal because it's just me. But a big win for the Patriots. They are now 4-2 on the season after winning at New Orleans. It's a 3-game winning streak for the Patriots. They tackle the Saints. They win this one 25-19. It's a game that was very much a tale of two halves. 38 combined points in the first half, just 6 in the second. One of the big storylines coming out of this one is going to be about the officiating, which we're going to get to before the end of the show. But just some notes here. This is the first time the Patriots have won 3 games in a row since 2022. That's when they won in New York. They beat the Colts, had a bye week, and then came back and beat the Colts again. That's the Marcus Jones punt return spectacular finish. So that's the last time they've done 3 in a row. 4 in a row, you got to go back to 2021. That team had a 7-game win streak in the middle of the season. So that's, if this team's able to win next week at Tennessee, that is what they're going to be looking to match this year. And so far, it's just that 3-game stretch back in 2022. This is the best start to the season the Patriots have had since 2019 when they started off 6-0. You remember that 2021 team, they make the playoffs. They have that big win streak, but things were a little bit up and down the first couple weeks of the season. You have that loss to Miami with a fumble late. You have that awful home loss to New Orleans in there, and Patriots did just break a 2-game losing streak against the Saints. Both of those losses were Mac Jones at home. You've got what I not so affectionately refer to as the Jonnu Smith game in that first one. That's the one where Mac Jones throws in the football, and instead of catching it, he bats it up into the air with both hands, and the Saints return it for a touchdown. And then you've got, the 34-0 shutout home loss the week after the Patriots had gotten blown out in Dallas in 2023. And that 2-game stretch with Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez getting hurt, and Mac Jones looking atrocious in that game against New Orleans. That was really, when things turned finally for good against the Bill Belichick era, I think. So, getting some voodoo going in the right direction here. If you're in New England to finally get a win over the Saints, their first since, I believe, 2017. It's the last time they beat the Saints and the last time they won in New Orleans. Brady and Gronk putting on a show down there. Patriots also matched their win total the last 2 seasons already. It's October 12th. Patriots have as many wins as they did all of last season, as many wins as they did all of 2023. So that part also feels fantastic right now. Some other notes. I did 14 points in the first quarter. First time they've done that since 2021. They did score 2 touchdowns in Miami this year, I think, in the first quarter, but there was a missed extra point involved. So they didn't get to 14 on that one. Patriots are the only team this year that has not surrendered 50 yards to a running back through the first 6 games. Run defense looking good today as part of that second half defensive performance. And Drake May had his 5th straight game with a 100-plus passer rating. That's the Patriots' single-season record is 8 straight. Brady did that twice. NFL record is 12 straight. So really good company there for Drake May getting even closer to those guys. And Marcus Jones with his first career sack. Those are some of the initial takeaways. I think the biggest takeaway here from this one, though, it's Drake May. And this is something I harp on this podcast all the time. We talk about situational play being what you do at the end of games, what you do on 3rd down, what you do on 4th down. Winning the middle 8, winning the turnover battle, things like that. I feel like people don't talk enough about how situational play can be how you start a game, how you open it. And May was on fire to start this one. Takes 4 plays into the game for the Patriots on offense for him to throw a touchdown. That was a 53-yard bomb to Pop Douglas. I love the play design here. This is something the Patriots have been running all year long. They do the play-action shot play, and Drake May is in what they call a half roll. So you watch football, a rollout is the quarterback will run out of the pocket, and it condenses the field and makes things tough for the defense in some ways. the half roll is you kind of fake like you're going to do that, but you mostly stay in the pocket. Pop Douglas with a great route down the field to shake the safety. Safety is anticipating the rollout and doesn't think the play is going to go back to the other side. And May's got a great arm, hits Pop in stride. He makes one man miss, and he's into the end zone. So a hot start there for the Patriots in this one, which you love to see. On the road, trying to silence a crowd here, and especially after last week, you want to build on that momentum, and they absolutely do on the first drive. And they do that after he hits Booty for a 3rd and 9 conversion on the first set of downs, and what would be one of the stories of the day there. Next drive, one of the other plays of the game, which I'm going to circle back to later, but he hits Pop for another touchdown, a 61-yarder, I believe it was, and that gets taken off the books by a penalty. But they're able to move the ball down the field anyway. There's a couple of penalties in there, maybe a make-up call to you by the officials. He hits Trevion Henderson with a little shovel pass, so he's trapped in the pocket, moves up when he feels Chase Young behind him, and then just flips it out to Trevion Henderson. So, you go back to what we talked about this week on Thursday about his spatial awareness and his basketball history. And when we had Ty Dunn on talking about how that's one of the assets of his game, and you see it right there. Able to take a play that, for a quarterback with poor pocket awareness turns into a sack or a strip sack and turns it into a positive. I think they moved the chains on that one or got close to it. So a really good play, move the ball down the field, and then he hits Booty, that go ball or skinny post or whatever it is, hits him over the top. And Kayshon Booty, phenomenally strong hands to finish that, because that was a play through contact. DB ends up with the ball by the time they roll out the back of the end zone. But at that point, he had it for long enough. It's a touchdown. This is a day to remember for Kayshon Booty. We're going to see him again just in a second, because on the 4th offensive possession of the day, they score in the 1st and 2nd. Now we jump ahead to the 4th. 2-minute drill. A couple nice plays from Josh McDaniels. Some good play calls to get this started. May then hits Stephon Diggs on was a 3rd down conversion, I believe it was. No, second, I don't know. It moves the chains to Stephon Diggs, gets him the ball. They get the offense going, and then 29-yard touchdown to Kayshon Booty after that. Just behind the defense, finds a hole in the defense, gets into the end zone on it. 2 touchdowns for Booty on the day. First time he's done that in his career. He's got 40 of his family members in attendance. So I can't imagine the feelings involved of, going back to where you played college football, state of Louisiana. Everyone you grew up with, everyone you knew is there, and you catch not 1 but 2 touchdown passes in front of them. That's awesome stuff. Kayshon Booty, who has just taken another step in his development, and he's become a glue guy, a go-to guy in this offense. And that is, I think more than people expected out of him when we picked him. This is a 6th-round pick from Bill Belichick in 2023, and here we are in 2025 reaping the rewards of a guy who's stacked years and gotten better with each season. I made a comparison on Twitter earlier today to David Givens, and Givens was a guy who in 2002 didn't do much as a rookie, late round pick. 2003 comes on, but is, banged up, and he's a little bit hit or miss. He's a little bit all over the place that year. Some very good games, quiet in others. Then 2004 is where he really puts things together, and I think there's some comparisons to be made. They're very different backgrounds. They have Givens was a running back who converted to wide receiver, but I think similar play styles, possession guys, glue guys you can go to move the chains. So love seeing that breakout there, and May was absolutely on fire there in the first half. I think he was 11 for 13 with a perfect passer rating and 3 touchdowns in the first 30 minutes there. And that's great situational football. You just take it to them from the opening snap. There was one drive in there where they don't score. They get into the fringe of field goal range, 56-yarder-ish, something like that. 3rd and 7, they try a run play, doesn't get anything. 4th and 7, they decide they're going to go for it. I like the aggressiveness. Not a lot of defense in this first half. So I like the Vrabel saying, all right, we're going to push this. We like what we got going on. We trust our quarterback. We trust our receivers. We're hot. We know we're going to need points to win this game. So let's just go get them. Unfortunately, Garrett Bradbury snaps it to not Drake May. It throws it willy-nilly into the backfield there, and you end up turning the ball over on down. So But that's really your only blemish in the first half offensively. 3 touchdown drives outside of it. And on that last one, you punch in a 2-point conversion as well. They get up to 22 points, make it a 6-point game, 22-16 lead. Awesome stuff. And May's humming at that point. Now, things slow down a little bit in the second half. I think some of this was, Saints defense making a couple decent plays. Some of it's the running game. We're going to get to the running game here in a couple minutes. But you've got that bizarre sequence where multiple third down conversions get overturned with 3 consecutive penalties against the Patriots. But one of those, amazing throw from May down the sideline. He hits Diggs, and they would have converted on a 3rd and 17. And he hit Hollins for a third down conversion that gets called back before that as well. So some really good plays that don't end up counting for you on the stat sheet. And then at the end, when you have to have it, 3rd and 11, under 3 minutes left in the game, you're up by 6 points. It's Drake May. It's Kayshon Boutte. He puts the ball exactly where it needs to be. Boutte makes the catch, gets down inbounds. 2nd week in a row he's done that. And you're able to, catch a flight here to Nashville. So really, really good stuff there. May finishes the day 0.56 EPA per play. That is the 96th percentile. So just an amazing, amazing performance here from him all around. Though one other thing I forgot to mention, they come out first drive of the second half. They get down to the 1 yard line, 2 yard line. It can't punch it in. But that possession has a 4th down conversion to Stephon Diggs. And then immediately after that, a 20-yard scramble from Drake May that gets you down to the goal line. So using his legs and using his arm, extending plays, working within structure, working out of structure. He really did everything you were going to ask out of him today. Finishes 18-26, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 28 yards on the ground, but that's including 3 kneel downs. So it's 6 carries for 32 yards without the kneel downs factored in there. This is the breakout we were looking for. And I think this is what has changed Pat and I's tenor on this entire season. May is playing like one of those guys right now. Playing like a top 10, borderline top 5 quarterback in the NFL so far this season. And this is, you take out that week 1 game where he looked overwhelmed. Things were new to him. Operating the offense was a bit of a struggle for him against that zone Raiders defense. Things hadn't clicked for him yet. Week 2, things click. And since then, he has been unbelievable. He's been sensational. And that shifts your expectations for a game, for a season, week to week, the way you view everything, because everything on offense goes through the quarterback, especially in this system. The run plays go through him too. He's the one making decisions at the line and audibling out of things and calling protections. Basically everything that happens on that field on offense, Drake May is having some sort of say. And this isn't like peak Tom Brady where he can do anything he wants at the line, but a lot of that's going through him, and he's going to be given a lot of power here because they trust him. He's a smart guy, and the offense has been humming the last couple weeks. And I think we're going to get to looking ahead here before the end of the show. But when you have a guy like that who can score whenever you need to score, who can get a first down when you need to get a first down, who can hit throws to all 3 levels of the defense from basically any spot. This isn't not a pocket quarterback. He can hit these throws from anywhere, like we saw in Buffalo last week. It stresses the defense in so many ways. It makes life difficult on them. And I think I go back to that first touchdown of the game. This is a play-action shot play. They've called this or similar versions of it many times this season. You're probably going to get this call 2-3 times a game of a similar type of concept where it's a play-action play. It's only going to be 2 or 3 receivers running routes. They're going to cross field and try to go deep. And if you can't hit something, maybe one of them's all the way deep, one of them is a little bit more intermediate, and you got something in the flat, or, there's variety here. But you're trying to hit the deep shot, and if not, you're going to settle for something shallower. And the Patriots have had to settle for the shallower one a lot this season just because defenses are taking away that deep look. And May has been excellent at recognizing and just taking what they're giving him. Can't go broke making a profit. And finally, someone messed up on the deep one and didn't play it correctly. And immediately he takes advantage of it. And I think this is another reason why Pat and I have been so excited so far this season. We know Drake May can do that. That's all over his tape at UNC. The crazy stuff, the weird plays, the getting into traffic and turning something into a good play, that's all over the tape. it was just the consistency that wasn't there, the ability to hit all the shallow stuff. The fact that you hit all the shallow stuff last week sets up a couple big plays. Immediately, you're able to hit a big play this week, and then you hit big plays all day today. You only get into the red zone twice, even though you scored 3 touchdowns, because you've got a touchdown pass of 53 yards, you've got a 29-yarder, you've got a 25-yarder. This is what this offense has been missing for years, a quarterback who unlocks these throws, who unlocks these spots on the field. Now that you have it, everything's open for you. It makes things easier for the receivers, makes things easier for the offensive line. Your margin of error gets a lot wider for all of these players because of this. You can have an awful running game and still go on the road in a tough environment, make mistakes and win, because your quarterback can do that stuff and can bail you out. This is what this team has not had since 2018, 2019, the end of Tom Brady there. And, you see bits of it with Cam Newton and bits of it with Mac Jones at points, but nothing like this. This is new here. The pocket presence was also exceptional. May was under pressure a lot, over 50% of the time. The Saints were able to get some kind of pressure on him, according to Next Gen Stats. Only sacked once. And that one sack's not on the line. It was a play that he extended and scrambled, and nothing was open, and he took a sack for a 1-yard loss. So that's incredible. Really, really good stuff from him. The ascendance, he just keeps going up. Where's that ceiling? I don't think anyone knows right now. Chad Graff had a tweet earlier on where May's season so far ranks among other year twos for quarterbacks. Drake May is averaging 0.26 EPA per dropback. That puts him into a tie with Brock Purdy's second season, Dante Culpepper's second. Actually, he's just ahead of Dante Culpepper, just ahead of Ben Roethlisberger, got Jeff Garcia, Carson Wentz, Colin Kaepernick on here, and then he's like right behind Nick Foles, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Not that far behind them either. So he's in fantastic company through 6 games. A lot of time for things to change, for them to go up or for them to go down. We'll see where he ends up landing on that list. But as someone who was very high on May through the most of the draft process, I was very excited that he was coming to New England. I think this is exactly what we were looking for. We've got Dwabi in the chat here. Says, can't believe Drake May is our quarterback, man. Just a joy to watch. That's it right there. I think that sums it up. And I think as a fan, the way it changes your perspective. When you know you have a quarterback, it doesn't really matter who the other 52 guys are. You go into every single Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night or Saturday or Friday or whenever they're playing games, feeling like you have a chance. And it's, you go to work on Monday or you go to school on Monday or, whatever you got going on in your life. And you're excited because you just won the next game, and you're equally excited for that next game because you can go out and do it again. And this is something we haven't had in New England in a while. Other than that stretch with Mac Jones as a rookie, we just haven't had that feeling since Tom Brady left, where you just have complete confidence that the quarterback's going to give you a chance to win. And the joy that brings to just the viewing experience is amazing. It's nice to feel locked in watching football for the first time in a while. I'm always locked in watching Patriots football, but it hits another level when you have a quarterback that can compete with really anyone. And my favorite stat of the day, I tweeted this out earlier. This is from Ben Baldwin's site, RBSDM. He does a stat that it's one of my favorites. It's called series conversion rate. So for each series, each set of downs, you're looking at, what do you start with? You start with a pass or a run. Like how often are you converting a set of downs into another set of downs? And for the Patriots today, they had 24 sets of downs. 10 of them started with a pass. All 10 of those times, that set of downs ended with either a first down or a touchdown. So if you're putting the ball in Drake May's hands, good things happened every single series today, which you just don't see that. Incredible stuff, a day where your running game can't get going. And this is something, again, I think we talked about for years. when the running game couldn't get going, the Patriots didn't have quarterbacks who could elevate it. Now we do. Running game's not there, and it didn't matter today. Still over 300 yards of offense, still 25 points, and easily could have been more, especially with, the last drive. Your goal on that one isn't to score. You're just trying to end the game. So that's 25 points on 8 drives where you're really trying to score, plus one drive where you're able to ice it with a pass. Great stuff. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the running game here, because this was a downer. Patriots have the lead the entire second half, try to run out the clock, and they just can't execute. On their last 3 possessions of the game, they had their 6 handoffs. 6 handoffs to a running back. Only one of them was a successful run. And it was a 4-yard run in 1st and 10. So they were trying to hand it off at the end to make something happen. It wasn't. A number of series there got blown up by the fact that running backs were running for a loss early. Your longest run by a running back today was 7 yards. And on that, I think one of the key possessions of this game, your defense forces a turnover, the only turnover of the game. You're already up by a score, and you're seeing if you can get one more on the board, make it a 2-score game late in the 4th. Ramondre Stevenson gets 2 carries that drive, -4 yards. Patriots have to punt after that, and just not able to take advantage of bad football from the Saints. I think this is a really frustrating element to their offense. And I think you look at the offensive line, all 5 guys on the line before the season, you would say, are better run blockers than pass blockers. So you have to ask the question, what's going on here? How did we get here? Ramondre Stevenson, outside of his fumble issues, I think tape-wise has looked good this year. I didn't think this was his best game there. I'll have to review the tape and see how things looked. Trevion Henderson did a little bit more today than Ramondre did, but he still is not his vision is still getting there at the NFL level. The biggest thing is that I haven't consistently seen the holes there, and they're just not getting a lot of push. It feels like this season, the Patriots running game has had a lot of handoffs up the middle for 3 yards. And you're hoping that, with those, you get a couple 5 and a couple 7, and then, a 20 to 25, a home run in there somewhere, house call. And those just aren't happening. There's really no explosive runs out of the backfield. And I think that's frustrating when, Ramondre Stevenson has shown in the past he can do it, and you drafted Trevion Henderson at pick 38 specifically for this purpose in this offense, hoping that he can do that as a rookie. Obviously, it's week 6. I think the biggest thing with this is probably just going to be the line. I don't think the guys are playing well enough as a unit so far. Run blocking, I think there have been issues with climbing to the next level on blocks. I do think the biggest thing is they're just not getting enough push, though. And, I look at the veterans here. Michael Wenu is someone who should be able to move guys back. He should be a people mover at his size, with his strength, which is his history and his knowledge of this offense. And he's been just okay, kind of at best, in that role. Garrett Bradbury has not been anything special, and he's been a great run blocker his whole career before this. Jared Wilson is still, he's going to make mental mistakes. He gets a lot more of a pass to me because he's a rookie, and you expect, growth, and you also are hoping that he's going to be able to step in at center at some point where your role as a run blocker gets a little bit different here. I will say Evan Lazar pointed out on his post-game column, the Saints were bringing a lot of kind of run pressures where, the Patriots like to do their power runs, which means you're pulling someone. So, one of the guards will pull out, wrap around, and become the lead blocker, and that leaves a little bit of a hole there. In one area where this came up, Patriots have that sequence down at the goal line, and they try to run a power run there, and the Saints just break right through the hole where the guard's pulling and get into the backfield and make a tackle. And you turn a 1st and goal at the 2 into a 3rd and goal at the 6 because you're going backwards on runs. That's just not acceptable. You can't do that. You win this week, that's fine. You're going to have a very hard time long term, against the good teams, winning if you're going to make yourself one-dimensional, especially when they have tried to make themselves multidimensional intentionally here. There's been an emphasis on trying to run the ball, and they have not been able to run the ball. It's kind of astonishing how bad the Patriots' run game has been when you consider they've invested in the offensive line specifically to run. You've got an offensive coordinator who's very good at signing run concepts and has been in New England and outside of New England. You've got a quarterback who's a threat in the running game. And you've got, running backs with a history of productivity and guys who were drafted highly. To have that combination of ingredients and not come out with, this isn't not only not a productive running game. It's one of the worst in the NFL so far this season. It's crazy to me. So you have to fix this. You got to find a way. It doesn't need to be great. It just needs to be passable. We're looking for a C here on it. And then you go forward into the offseason and you fix some of the personnel things. But by EPA per play, at least coming into this week, the Patriots are dead last in the NFL rushing the ball. Part of that's going to be fumbles. Part of that's I believe plays like the two bad snaps by Garrett Bradbury might go down as running plays. So that those are really negative expected points added because I think they both fourth downs. So that's going to hamper you there. But yeah, I the Patriots offense is in a bizarre place. For those who know the website RBSDM that plots all the stuff on a graph, if you look at offenses in the NFL, the Patriots are literally all alone in the bottom right quadrant where they are a top 6 passing offense and bottom 1 rushing offense. No one is close to them on this graph. This is a unique offense in their productivity, and a lot of that's because I don't think this offensive line is very good yet. They've just been very good at scheming around it in the passing game, and Drake May's pocket presence and ability to move and avoid sacks have all, made that easier on the line. And then one other point on the fact that you can roll out Drake May and he can run the ball or throw while moving also makes life a lot easier on your offensive line than it would be otherwise. So I think they have some of these checks for the offensive line in the passing game. They're able to avoid some of the issues they might have. In the running game, they just haven't been able to find that yet. But we'll see how things look. I don't know what the status is of Jeffrey Simmons for the Titans next week, but he's a good defensive tackle. And then you get Myles Garrett and the Browns, and then Carson Schwarzenegger, maybe defensive rookie of the year the week after that. So you're going to get two opponents here that might be able to give you a little bit of trouble on the ground. And this is an area where they're definitely going to have to get better. That's and you almost lose this game because of this. They're able to convert a 3rd and 11 to ice the game in the final 3 minutes, but they're only in 3rd and 11 because they can't run the ball. And if that ball is incomplete, the Saints are getting the ball back with over 2 minutes left, and they're down by 6. You got a chance to go win it in regulation, and you don't want to be in that spot. They did enough to avoid being in that spot. You got to win. Like Vrabel says, everyone gets a game ball. It's a team win. Didn't cost you today. Something that you're going to have to fix going forward because it might cost you in another game. We're going to get on to the defense here in a second, but I do have to pay the bills here. I do have an ad read, and this is the one that Pat usually does, so apologies if this is a little bit rougher than usual. But this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It has been a very fun season in football this year. I've been having a blast with it. Patriots being good makes that a little bit easier. I know Pat had some picks this week that he usually talks about on here. I don't remember what his picks were, so I'm gonna let him update you guys when he gets back. We do our midweek show. But some guys playing great football out there, and Prize Picks can help you there. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick them all in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's get back into it here. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about. I know some people in the chat want to talk about the officiating. Don't worry, we are going to be getting to that. We did just talk about the running game. Fast Magician, thank you for checking in on that one. They need to run the ball more effectively. You are 100% correct. I'll go through some of the comments here before we get to the defense. Jack asks, is wide receiver still a problem for this team? No, not right now. Going forward, maybe. Right now, no. Stephon Diggs, I think being your number one makes life easier for everyone. I also think that May is an accurate passer. He's a decisive passer. He trusts his guys, and he can make every throw. So you don't need your receivers to be as good. I think we'll compare this to the Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi era. Wide receiver became a massive issue with those guys because they're not really going to extend plays and they're not super accurate down the field. So you need guys who can create separation on their own and then win with yards after the catch. Patriots just didn't have guys who were good enough. I mean, you need some true dogs to do that. With May, if a guy doesn't get open in time, May might be extending the play. So you're going to have a second opportunity, a third opportunity, a fourth opportunity to try to get open. Even if you aren't open, he still might throw you the ball down the field where he's got, very accurate cannon there that can deliver the ball anywhere. And you're still going to have a chance to make a play, make a contested catch. So that just makes life easier on your receivers than it's been in the past. We're making that comparison. I do think long-term, you don't know what you're getting out of Diggs next season, the year after, however long they want to keep him. I think you need guys at that position. I still think that long-term tight end is going to be a need for you too. I like the guys they have at the position now. They're both over 30 years old. Neither one's a great blocker. They're passable, but I think that's a position where you want to invest more too. So I think that they have band-aided the problem well enough. I think you have a group of pass-catching weapons and a quarterback that you can win a championship with, depending on how good the rest of the team is. Shouldn't stop you from trying to get better, though. I don't think wide receiver is a problem for this team. If someone says I can have A.J. Brown, I'm still also going to take A.J. Brown. You're always trying to get better. You're trying to win championships, and you're never short on good players. All right, I'm gonna move over to the defense here real quick. Weird game, weird game for the defense. We'll start with the positive. The run defense was there. No running back hit 50 yards, 73 yards on the ground for New Orleans. They never really got going there at all. Patriots basically daring Spencer Rattler to beat them through the air. The problem is that for long stretches of this game, Spencer Rattler beat them through the air. Patriots brought a lot of blitzes in the first half, going right to that first play of scrimmage. The Patriots dial up a boundary corner blitz. So typically when you think of a corner blitz, you're thinking of the guy in the slot because he's the closest to the play. And you're trying to get to the quarterback fast. The Patriots, with this defense, they like bringing the boundary corner blitz. So the corner is further away. Makes it harder for him to affect the quarterback, but also because he's further away, the offense is going to be expecting him to blitz less. That is just not something they're going to be planning for as much. And you're hoping that you can catch him off guard. And on a corner blitz like that, when he's coming from further away, the goal is going to be to confuse the quarterback, try to make sure that whatever he's trying to go to first, his first read, his first receiver, is going to be covered or at least murky enough that he doesn't feel like he can throw the ball. And then when he has to hitch and set again and try to get his bearings and look for a second option or third option, by then the corner is there and he's a free rusher and you're able to get a sack out of it. Patriots tried to bring this on the first play of the game with Carlton Davis coming from, the far side there on the TV copy. And he kind of jumps a little bit early, tips off that he's coming on a blitz. And in this particular blitz, what you're looking for, the replacement on that side is going to be Kyle Duggar. He'll end up in cover 2. Kyle Duggar replacing Jalen Hawkins, who's injured. He's going to end up playing the deep third on that side of the field. So he's just responsible for taking away anything deep. Well, the receiver there's Chris Olave. The blitz doesn't get home. Duggar, anticipating that the blitz might get home, is trying to cut off anything that might be at the sticks, because when there's a blitz, sometimes the receiver's hot. So if the receiver's hot, it means that if someone blitzes, he's going to break his route off shorter, it to be a quicker option for the quarterback to throw to. but he's not. This is just a straight go. Duggar overplays that, gets beat deep for a big play that sets the Saints up immediately. But this style has its pros and its cons. There's the con of that aggressive style of defense. The pro is that on that third down right after that, Patriots were able to generate pressure with a blitz, forces a bad throw, and the Saints are forced into a field goal. That would be a theme early. You get the third down pressure, leading to a field goal. Saints drive down the next time. Holding penalty in that one. That stalls their drive. They settle for another field goal. The next drive, they're able to get a touchdown on. They do score in the first 4 possessions. This one, I think, was tougher. I mean, it's all underneath stuff. The Patriots couldn't make enough tackles, not in time. The run defense was not quite as good on that drive, and the Saints get into the end zone. And that's when they did take a 16-14 lead. That's when it felt like, okay, this might be a track meet today. This just might end up being one of those days. They're bringing blitz after blitz at Rattler. He was seeing them. He was prepared for them, and he was getting the ball out very quickly. So credit to him for playing a good game, and it just wasn't working for the Patriots there in the first half. And, at the end of the half there, the Saints almost get another touchdown. Olave can't quite haul it in the end zone, settle for another field goal. This is one of the big differences in the game. Patriots were able to hit 3 big plays for touchdowns in this one, 3 scores from outside of the red zone. Saints have multiple drives here that get into scoring range and then stall out because they couldn't hit those big plays. So for as bad as some of the stuff on defense looks, giving up scores on I think the first 4 possessions of the game and giving up 5 scores on the day, I think part of this was just the bend and don't break style they wanted to play, and Rattler happened to have a good day against it. And even with a good day against it, they still maxed out at 19 points. They're still sub 20. Not a perfect day, but could have been a lot worse. You get into the second half, that's where the defense started to make a couple plays. You've got the 3rd and 17 where Marcus Jones is able to kind of rip the ball away from Chris Olave. I think it was Olave. And then Charles Woods comes in and knocks that out. Should have been a catch and a fumble. They just call it an incompletion. I don't know how that could have been an incompletion, but they call it that, and it forced the punt. An amazing play from Charles Woods there. Then the next drive, you've got Marcus Jones with a 3rd down sack, forcing a field goal on it again. Scoring range and guys making good plays to limit the damage. Then you've got a Christian Ellis forcing a fumble on the second play of the next drive. Huge play in this game. The only turnover, one of the most impactful plays in the game. With the Saints offense that was moving the ball all day, you're going to need a turnover against them. And then the last time they touch the ball, it's not even the Patriots defense that does it, really. 2nd down, Saints have a chunk play there, and Olave drops it. A little bit of an errant throw, but he gets both hands on the ball and can't come down with it. You have good coverage on 3rd down, Saints punt, they don't see the ball again. So defense able to do enough. It's a weird game to evaluate because you give up a lot of yards, you give up a decent number of points, and a lot of these stops don't even come from you making a play. You've got offensive holding penalties, and you've got bad throws, and you've got drops, and Olave could have had a lot more production. Saints could have had an extra 4 points in here if he's able to haul one in the end zone. But also the style of defense you play in this type of game, this is the bet you're making. You're saying that you don't think the Saints offense is good enough to do this repeatedly, and say, we'll take field goals knowing that we think they're going to turn the ball over at some point, and we think that we can stop them from moving the ball every single drive. The bet works out for you. It's not perfect. It's not the cleanest game, but you're not playing for a shutout. You're playing for a win, and they get the win. So credit to the defense there. I will say for weaknesses, I do think this is the least effective we've seen their interior pass rush. I didn't see a lot of Milton Williams or Christian Barmore wrecking things today. I think just a little bit of an off day for them. I'm sure they'll be better against the Tennessee offensive line that's atrocious next week. But just not their day. But able to do enough defensively with a lot of things to address going forward. I think those are my big 3 takeaways. Also some other little notes. You win the middle 8. You get that field goal before the half with the 2-minute drill in the first possession of the second half. Wait, was that the? I gotta go. No, it was the touchdown before the half, and then the field. Yeah, and then the field goal coming out of the half. So you're able to win the middle 8. which is always important, and score on both possessions, and getting 11 points out of those 2 possessions. Situational football, putting yourself ahead by 2 scores early in the second half, it's a good spot to be if you want to win football games, especially when you're on the road and you want to take the crowd out of it, especially when you're going against a young quarterback and you want to make him throw the ball to beat you. We're talking about the Saints turning the ball over once. Patriots don't turn the ball over at all. For as bad of a day as the running game had, no fumbles for Ramondre Stevenson. Obviously nothing for Trevion Henderson either. No picks from May. I don't even think he had a really turnover-worthy play in this game. I thought he was exceptional there too. So like we said in the pregame show, play clean football, play your game. You'll win this one, and the Patriots did. You probably could have added another score if you wanted to at some point, but it doesn't end up coming down to that. 3 up, 3 down for this one. Up, I've got Belichick's last wide receiver class. I'm cheating all through the 3 up and 3 down to give more ups and downs to people. But Belichick's last wide receiver class, Kayshon Boutte with his first ever 2-touchdown game, the game's sealing completion. Pop Douglas should have had 2, but he has, I believe, a career-long touchdown. So amazing stuff for the 2 of them. Definitely on the ups list, and I feel awesome for Boutte with that crowd. But Pop Douglas is a guy who's been trying to find his home in this offense, and after struggling in some games a couple weeks ago, he's bouncing back. Love to see that. Love to see May willing to trust him with a play down the field. Also on the up list is going to be Drake May. How can it not be? He was so good today. If he keeps playing like this, it's going to be hard to keep him on the up list because this will become the new standard. But he's new enough at this. I'm leaving him on there. And then I'm gonna put defensive punch-outs on the ups list. This is going to be Christian Ellis forcing the fumble and Charles Woods as their 4th DB coming in and knocking that ball out with Marcus Jones on that 3rd and 17. Should have been 2 forced fumbles right there. It goes down as 1. But some really heady plays there. I also could have mentioned if we wanted to do Patriots linebackers. Robert Spillane, another good game. He was, I think, 11 tackles today. He was awesome. Big part of the running game not being effective for New Orleans. So good stuff there. The down list, interior offensive line, not enough push in the running game, just not quick enough as run blockers, and then that bad snap from Garrett Bradbury. I'm just putting that whole group on there. They weren't good enough today. You got to find a way to get something better out of them next week. Cornerback injuries going to be on this list. Christian Gonzalez comes into this game questionable. He plays, but he's been nursing that injury since camp. Marcus Jones and Carlton Davis both get banged up during the game and have to come out at points. I like their depth at corner relative to the position across the league. It's hard to have a lot of good corners, but if all 3 of your starters are banged up, that's not a spot you want to be in. Thankfully, they're going against a couple passing games here the next couple weeks that don't really threaten you. But you got that game against Tampa, I think next month. You're going to need to be fully healthy for that one. It's especially with a guy like Carlton Davis, who you just gave a lot of money to. You don't like to see any nagging soft tissue injuries with a guy like that, because we know corners can fall apart quickly, and you just paid this guy a lot of money. Not his best day today anyway, and I'm going to give him a little room here, assuming that he's playing through this injury right now. But health is a concern for me on the back end, especially also with Jalen Hawkins out today. And then my 3rd down, I think this is why a lot of you are probably here to hear me talk about this, officiating. I have always been the type of guy that says, you can complain about officiating all you want, but when you're looking at the outcome of a game 99% of the time, you got to control what you can control, and you have to leave things out of, that margin of error where officials can call something and ruin your day. You got to try to play cleaner than that and know that sometimes they're going to get you, and you just have to try to beat that. This is a league where all the games are close, so you got to just find a way to execute through that and win anyway. Patriots do that today, and I'm still going to complain about the officiating, because what the hell was that, man? What was that? We got to start with the 2 big completions. The touchdown taken off the board for a flag thrown after the celebration's complete, as far as I know, on an offensive pass interference penalty that's not an offensive pass interference penalty, that was then described after the game to the pool reporter by Adrian Hill. Is that the report? Is that the ref today? It was for blocking down the field, illegal blocking down the field by Stephon Diggs. He didn't block down the field. There's one point of this route that you could reasonably consider offensive pass interference. He's the first read in the play, and at the very top of the route, which was a third down play, I believe, he hits the defensive back with both hands. Technically, if you want, you can call that. But it was incredibly ticky-tack when you consider that the defensive player was also grabbing. It was the typical amount of contact on plays like that, and they really never call that. So I'm still mystified. I don't think there's a good explanation for that at all. No, I'm not going to throw out allegations or accusations or anything like that. What I will say is this. With officiating, it's not enough to just be perfectly impartial. You have to have the appearance of being perfectly impartial about things. And when the league introduces gambling as a massive element, it becomes hard to maintain that. I don't know exactly what went into the call. The baseline assumption here is going to be that officiating football games is hard and someone made a mistake. It's almost definitely what happened. But it's hard not to blame people who get a little conspiratorial because look at the appearance. Look at it. It's a bizarre play, and you've now introduced an outside element where someone might have a financial gain off of a weird play like that. Why it's probably not a good idea for the league to get involved in gambling, but, that is what it is. Bizarre play. I don't understand how they took that back. It makes no sense to me. And the timing of it makes the entire thing bizarre that they had needed to wait that long to figure out if that play was offensive pass interference. Hopefully we get further clarification on it. I'd love to find an explanation that makes sense. I have not found one yet. Then there's the other play, a third down conversion to Stephon Diggs, also taken away by offensive pass interference. You can see why they call this one, because Diggs definitely hits the defensive back with his arm. The problem is that, as far as I can tell, the replays they showed, there's no arm extension. It didn't really create any space, and it seemed to be him just kind of bracing and turning, looking for the ball, where he ends up making the catch. If you want to call it, you can call it. But the next play, 3rd and 27, down the same sideline, when Drake May throws to Mac Hollins, and the ball is just out the reach of his fingertips, when you have a defensive back actually grabbing him, if the first play in the sequence is enough contact for a pass interference penalty, the second play in the sequence also has to be enough contact for a pass interference penalty. You are now changing, and this is the same spot in the field, so that should be the same official making that call, and yet you're coming to different judgments here. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me, and that's like 130 yards taken away from Drake May there. Obviously, you end up scoring a touchdown on that first one anyway, so that one doesn't matter. Second play could have been really massive. It was a very weird sequence. You have a third down taken away by an illegal shift penalty, which was technically correct. The rule on this, by the way, you're allowed to have a man in motion at the snap. But if at any point two players are moving at the same time, it becomes a shift and not a motion. And if you're shifting, then everyone has to come to a full stop before you can snap the ball or for someone to go in motion again. What happens is that Ramondre is still kind of moving around in the backfield when the motion on the play starts, and they snap the ball during the motion. So it goes as a shift because two players are moving. You get a penalty. These are the technicalities of it. They're there for a reason, and I know the guys are smart enough about this because earlier in the game, they called a motion, and this might have been on the third down run that didn't go anywhere before the fourth down bad snap. I think it was in that sequence somewhere. Someone goes in motion, and Mac Hollins moves at the same time. And he realizes it, and he yells at May and gets his attention and tells him, don't snap the ball. We're going to wait until everyone stops moving, and then we're going to snap it, because you would have gotten a penalty if they snapped it with the guy in motion. You just don't have that awareness the second time. Takes a third down conversion off the board. Then you've got a false start on a weird play where a defender comes onto the field late. A strange sequence all around there. Officiating doesn't help. And this isn't even taking into account the fact that Mike Vrabel goes 2 for 2 on challenges, and he could have been 3 for 3 if he wanted to be on the incompletion that's really a forced fumble on that third down play that we talked about before. So I don't get it. Adrian Hill has done Patriots games before, too. He did the game at home against Miami last year that I also didn't think was well officiated against New England. I think it was 12 penalties for over 100 yards on the Patriots in that one. And I came away remembering the official's name because of it. Saw him on the thing for this week and went, uh-oh. And it was as bad as I was thinking it could be. Bizarre officiating. Not good. This guy, I can be okay with the fact that officials are going to make mistakes at points. They only get to see it once in live speed, not necessarily from the best angles, and they have to make a judgment based on that. You're never going to get it 100% right if that is the only thing you're allowed to look at when you're officiating things. And that's why we have challenges in video replay and stuff. Some of this stuff, though, is just like inexcusable. And that first touchdown taken off the board, that is ridiculous by my book. Those were. I got a couple more things we're going to talk about here. Those were a lot of my big things. A couple questions here. Jack asked why Keion White was inactive. He's dealing with an injury right now. And this is a good point, though. That second edge defender spot, Kayvon Chasen comes back today, but Keion White's inactive. Anthony Jennings is inactive. Truman Jones gets the nod, promoted from the practice squad. Probably not great for Braden Swinson right now. He got some praise this week, but Braden Swinson, who was drafted in the 5th round and seen by many as a consensus top 100, like guy who's going to go in the 3rd round of this draft, currently behind 2 different undrafted free agents on the depth chart. He's like the 6th or 7th edge defender on this team right now, so that's not great for him. White inactive because of the injury. We'll see if he comes back next week. I still think that second edge defender spot is going to be a big position of need for the Patriots. Maybe for the rest of the season. We'll see what Chasen can give them, but clearly a spot where they are going to need to be better. The Fast Magician had asked about the bad officiating before. We talked about that. Lance talks about the remaining schedule. So I think this is where we look forward a little bit. Let's look forward to tomorrow night first, Monday night, for those who are listening on Monday. The Bills are in Atlanta for a primetime game. This is massive for the Patriots because if the Bills lose this, Patriots and Bills will be tied for first place in the AFC East. The Patriots would own the tiebreaker. The Patriots would be in possession of first place in the AFC East. You combine that with the fact that the schedule the rest of the way is not particularly difficult. The Patriots have their path out right now. They should, I would say, be a playoff team with how the quarterback played today. And the fact that you're able to get a win on the road, even though your team doesn't play that great because of your quarterback, you got an opportunity here. So the schedule ahead, if we want to look at this real quick. Next week, they wrap up this 3-game road stretch by going to Nashville. They're going to go play the Titans. Titans lost to the Raiders today by 10 points. Cam Ward is struggling. That offensive line is awful. The receivers are not that good. Yeah, this is not a good Titans team. It's going to be a revenge game for Mike Vrabel, too, who I know is going to have them fired up. Can't drop that one. You're going to play the Browns, and you come back home at the end of October. They have no passing game. Their defense is good. That's it. You have to win that. You get Atlanta after that. I still don't know what to make of this Atlanta team. I have no clue what they are. So we're going to see how things go tomorrow night when they play the Bills. We'll get a better feel for what the Falcons are. And then you get another NFC South game there. You go to Tampa for a game that hopefully the Patriots keep playing well gets flexed. That'd be pretty sweet to get another primetime game here because you're playing well enough to earn it, or at least moved into that late afternoon slot. That's going to be a tough game to win. Tampa's playing well. A short week after that, rivalries game at home against the Jets. They are atrocious. That you have to win. You have Cincinnati. They looked a little bit better with Joe Flacco today. That game, I think, is a little bit tougher than it was a week ago. But without Burrow, they have not been very good. And then Giants at home in primetime. You should be better than the Giants. You might only lose 1 or 2 games between now and the bye. And that sets you up for a final stretch here of Buffalo, Baltimore, Jets, Dolphins, where you might control your destiny, at least for playoff hopes. If not, the division, depending on what the Bills do in that stretch as well. So you have an opportunity right here. I would love to see them take it. Going back to the officiating real quick, Jack says, why can't replay review step in? This is one of my gripes with officiating in the NFL is that, like I said, the officials get to view the play once in full speed from what will probably be a partially obstructed angle because there's other players in the field and it gets crazy. The average fan on TV gets to see the play like 5 different times in slow motion from every angle. Yeah, of course, we're going to do it better than the officials do when you have the access that we do. I really think the solution for the NFL, like what they should do here, is have basically a video official for each game, someone up in the box who watches and has the power of an official, can radio you down and say, hey, you got to do this thing or whatever. I think that would fix a lot of it because that person will get similar access to a fan, will get to see the game the way a fan does, and therefore just for appearance's sake, things that fans are seeing and being like, oh, that was weird. Why wasn't that a penalty? At least you know an official is also seeing that thing and has the ability to address it if it actually is. Don't know why they haven't done that yet. I think one of the startup leagues had something like that. It feels like a no-brainer to me to just add one more set of eyes there and make sure you're getting things right. But there's only so much budget in the NFL. It doesn't make that much money. So they might not have money for something like that. I don't know. A couple other notes here. Efton Chisholm gets his NFL debut. I think he drew a penalty as a kickoff returner. So good stuff for him. Brendan Schooler, really good day on special teams. Andy Borregales, good day. Ashby, the long snapper, did have a penalty today. Don't love that. But not that big of a deal, I don't think. Drake may have a delay of game in that red zone sequence where things got to be quicker. He's a young player. I'm not going to knock him too hard for that right now. That's been a growing pain even last year. So hopefully it's something, we haven't seen a lot of that this year. So hopefully with time, hopefully with time they're able to work out the kinks in that. I think the big themes from this is your offense has an explosive element because of the quarterback that other teams don't. And you can just win games off of that alone. That's your difference here. The Saints got field goals and the Patriots got touchdowns. You win a game on the road because of it. This is a good win. It's not a great win, but it's a win. And I think coaches will love this and that it's a win with enough mistakes that you're going to be able to hammer the guys that week in practice and tell them, hey, you got to get better. We're not winning the next week. I think that's going to do it for this one. We're going to be out of here in less than an hour. So, this was a good time. I've been reading the chat this whole time. Obviously, I'm doing this solo, so I don't have as much attention for the chat as I might do during one of my shows with Pat. But reading it, love the interactions. Pat and I are going to be back this week, probably Thursday, but we don't have it locked in yet. We'll let you guys know when we know. So I'll be signing off for Pat. I am Matt St. Jean here with the Pat's Nation Postgame Show. Pat's moved to 4-2. We'll try to make it 5-2, 4 in a row, 3 games in a row on the road here this following Sunday. But stay safe, everyone. We'll see you later this week.